kids, it was all families. And so we just started getting the kids fed, thinking about what we're going to do. Now, so it gets interesting because I didn't know this bit in a sense, but what happened in November was it was something called the Mukkadda camp. And that was like a First Nations protest, and they were doing stuff there, getting themselves organised. That had sort of died down.
But what happened at that protest? Because it was significant.
At that protest, well, I wasn't there particularly, but they went there, and it was pretty much, from what I gathered, from what I was seeing online, is that they were declaring their sovereign nation, and they were giving people, like, accepting people to come onto their sovereign nation. They were doing IDs, and they was creating a system of governance that have, in the past, has said, you've never had any system of governance, so therefore you don't exist. So they were starting to create, to go, okay, well, let's try and create something here. And it was quite a movement. It got a little bit out of control. They set fire to the parliamentary doors. That's all been sorted out through the courts now, I believe. But the remnants, so some parts of that of what was going on there stayed, and they ended up gelling in with this first wave of just all the everyday Australians that got there. So all everyday Australians that got there, they're like, now what? Where are we going to go now? Now what it was is some of the First Nation people there said, we've got the key to the gate, we can open that gate and let you in, and you can set up and camp up behind the library. He goes, and they said, when we're letting you out, we're going to have to let you in like a few at a time, whatever, and then when the police come, we'll deal with them, and we'll tell them about that we've got the permit. And then, because what happens there is, because you're in the ACT, in the Parliamentary Triangle, because you've got the Aboriginal Embassy, 10 Embassy, when those sort of things get talked to the low-level police officers, it always has to go back up the chain of command, which then takes a bit of time. So they'll just buy time. This is like full-on tactics. That they knew that we weren't allowed, but they knew that they were playing the system. So eventually we start getting people in, and we're behind the library, and that was the eastern side, the entrance, and then we had a western side, which was basically just an open paddock or land to the road, and we started telling people just drive up the gate and come up that way. Within the first probably couple of days we had a few hundred cars there, and then within about a week we had about, I don't know, it would have been 500-600 cars there. And at that point, what was happening is we were having meetings and we were being educated by the sovereigns, by the First Nation people, of what their fight was against the government.
What were they teaching?
Well, about what the corporate government is, about, that the country had never been ceded or sold, the issues that they've got with native title. It was like a multitude of things that was coming out. And then you started figuring out that there was certain factions on that side of the fence too, so not everybody was allowed to go up to where the 10 Embassy was, where the Sacred Fire was, where there was some meetings happening. So there was liaising going on, right? And
there's also other groups that believe in these common law, sovereign ideas that aren't Indigenous.
Exactly. And they were there too, right? They were some of the people that rocked up to begin with as well, which would have been from WA or Queensland or whatever, because up and until that point, through 2021 and 2020, 21 and 2022, well, beginning they were then trying to question the law themselves, and this is where you sort of start saying, well, where have our common law rights gone? And then you start seeing people educate themselves on common law, and then they're starting to form groups to educate themselves, talk amongst themselves, to do research, and then these things are just slowly and progressively got bigger, and probably not so much each group has got bigger, but the ideas have gotten bigger across.
At that protest, was that the beginning of the kind of symbiosis, the merging of these ideas?
I don't think it was the beginning, because there's been people like this for decades.
But I mean, as it's grown out to what it is today.
Well, I think what was happening is that, we were all, at one stage, there was probably a couple of 100,000 of us at Epic. And we were there for 2 weeks.
So you call it Epic?
It was at Exhibition Park in Canberra, right? And that's after they kicked us out of the library, because we were getting too much there, and it was right in the Parliamentary Triangle, and they're like, can't have this, get them out of here. And there was a few already at Epic, and they said, you know what, shuffle them that way, go to Epic. And they said, go to Epic, we don't care if you're over there. And then we got to Epic, and then we got so epic that they started getting worried again, and then they came through. And because what it was is that we actually ran that for nearly 3 weeks. Everyone was fed 3 times a day for free. Everyone was housed. There was toiletries, everything, showers. It was the most incredible thing I've ever experienced, and was lucky enough to be one of the guys that was sort of just, the energy was flowing through because I was there from the beginning. So people were like, it's something you call social collateral, right? The longer you're there and you're doing, people are like, oh, that guy knew, go ask him. And then the next person does it and whatnot. So,
what did it achieve?
What did it achieve? Well, it gave people hope.
What do you say to people who are thinking about coming but they're not sure if
just do it. You don't know how great it's going to be until you get here. Like, I had high hopes, but you just feel like so much weight lifted off you, and you just have so much support from everyone, and I'm just so proud of everyone and so grateful to them for showing up, and just give it a shot. Just come, find me. I'll be around.
Okay, thank you so much.
People were so desperate at that stage that they felt so alone and isolated that everybody came together, and it was, at one stage it looked like Kuta Bali, like on New Year's Eve. It was that, and mind you, that while we were all partying, doing a conga line and hugging, like I was getting like 200 hugs a day, right? So that sort of love that starts vibrating amongst thousands of people, the energy is incredible. It's just next level. This is why, as soon as you start talking about it, people start talking about it, it does bring back a lot of these amazing emotions, because it felt like it was a point that we turned the corner of going, righto, everyone's been suffering for the last 2 years, big time, right? Doesn't matter where you are, like mentally, for your family, whatever it might have been, you're suffering. And all of a sudden, we saw this change. And if you look back, you can see that Canberra itself, the ACT, was the first state to drop the mask mandates. And the reason why they did that is because there was thousands of us going in and out of Canberra every day. Into the shopping centres, out of the shopping centres, everywhere. Pubs. So then they were looking like, hang on a minute, got all these thousands of people that aren't wearing masks and they're not like dropping like flies. So then it just became...
So you think that it had a tangible effect on the decisions of...
We had, 100%. You have a look. Oh, I have another tangible effect, which is all on fact, this is not hearsay, is that in the months leading after that, the amount of arrests that were done that were not proportionate to what was going on, they were very heavy-handed. Because the people stayed there, we stayed there for a long time, we supported each other at the hearings. There is evidence there that the conviction rate in the ACT dropped from 85% down to 65%, and you had Shane Drumgold and Neil Gorgon publicly having a go at each other. And that was on the front page of the Canberra Times. Now, that's because we were going in there and challenging these fines, but there was also people in there challenging the sovereign as well. So there was a lot going on, but we've got footage of where there was, 70 or 80 of us at the front of the ACT courthouse. So that sort of a pressure, I saw what the difference it made. Now, if you're going to go, this is where the Self-Represented Litigant Association, where I understand that the power of numbers can have a big effect on the actual institution itself.